And away we go, episode 1395 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. 4 months from today is Christmas. Let that sink in. And actually, we had 2026 Washington Commanders training camp on Monday afternoon, had injured left tackle Laremy Tunsil acting as Santa Claus. Tunsil, for a second consecutive year, had food trucks sent over for his team, and he this year did this while nursing a torn triceps that he suffered during training camp practice on August 8th. He's expected to miss at least a significant portion of the 2026 regular season, but this situation has not stopped him from being generous, wrote Commanders insider Ben Standing of Last Man Standing on Substack on Monday afternoon in a post on X. Quote, Laremy Tunsil joined his teammates after practice for burgers, oysters, and other food truck options he generously sent to the facility. I chatted with him briefly in good spirits. Despite, the surgically repaired triceps, he's sporting a large brace on his left arm that he must wear 24/7. No fun, end quote. No, but Santa Tunsil, a very nice gesture. Hello and welcome to this Tuesday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Coming up on the show, lots for you on the Washington Commanders. Next segment, discussion of key injury updates and of the urgency being displayed by head coach Dan Quinn via him adding a full practice to the practice that was held on Monday afternoon, and via him referring to his team in the 17-13 preseason loss at the Detroit Lions this past Saturday afternoon, at times being, quote, in disarray, end quote. I have a lot to say about that. The following segment, conversation about a variety of items off comments from Dan Quinn, including the likelihood of quarterback Jayden Daniels playing in Washington's 2026 preseason finale. Spoiler alert, the likelihood is low. The team, for the time being, having Matt Gulbin work exclusively at center in what sure would seem to be an acknowledgement of concern at the position, and an update on who will be Washington's primary green dot guy on defense. And also on the show, I'll talk Washington Nationals. They won for just the seventh time in 25 games, snapped a 4-game losing streak, a 13-3 win over the Colorado Rockies at Nationals Park on Monday evening. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. You can reach me via writing a review of the podcast on Apple Podcasts. You can write about whatever you want, and I'll read what you write if you give the podcast a 5-star rating. Email from Elliot on the Jayden Daniels LSU situation, which Daniels, during his post-game press conference this past Saturday afternoon, addressed publicly in a media availability session for the first time since the story broke. The story broke late night on Wednesday night, August 12th, when ESPN college football insider Mark Schlabach came out with a piece in which he reported that an attorney representing Jayden Daniels had informed LSU that it can no longer use his name, image, and likeness, and that the reason for this, per a statement from Daniels' spokesperson to ESPN, is that LSU is allowing sophomore cornerback DJ Pickett to wear the number 5 jersey that Daniels wore over his 2 seasons playing for LSU, 2022 and 2023, and Daniels for the 2023 season won the Heisman Trophy. LSU's previous head coach Brian Kelly, he did not allow DJ Pickett to wear the number 5 jersey because Daniels did not want another LSU player to wear that jersey, but LSU last October 26 fired Kelly, and this past November 30th hired Lane Kiffin as head coach, and if you know Lane Kiffin, you know that he's a good coach, but he is the ultimate mercenary, and so he has no problem letting a big-time player like DJ Pickett wear the number 5 jersey. Writes Elliot, Al, I wanted to write for a reason that probably won't surprise you. I have appreciated that you did not turn the Jayden Daniels number 5 story into an endless week of content. Almost everyone else in this market and nationally treated the story as a layup. Heisman winner throws a fit over a jersey, cue the takes, and fake outrage. I got frustrated watching the story get flattened, so I spent a few days using AI research tools to trace every viral claim back to primary reporting and separate what was actually sourced from what was invented on social media. What I found was a more coherent story than the one that aired. What the record supports. Number 1, the promise to DJ Pickett is real. Brian Kelly confirmed it to ESPN's Mark Schlabach. Kelly believed that Pickett had been promised number 5 during Pickett's 2024 recruitment. So Lane Kiffin was not inventing cover. Number 2, but Kelly declined to issue the number and said why. Per ESPN, Kelly wasn't prepared to hand the number over without the Heisman winner's blessing and pointed to LSU also holding back Joe Burrow's number 9. You can't treat one differently from the other. Kelly went to Daniels. Daniels said no. Pickett wore number 3 in 2025. That establishes a precedent that Daniels would be consulted. Number 3, more importantly, while Kelly has inferred that he never promised but wanted to ask Daniels, yet why even ask if there had not been any conversation? Daniels would be consulted if it were to be used. Daniels' expectation was not conjured from nothing. Number 4, the number was a contract term. Per LSU sources cited by local reporting, when Pickett negotiated his return for 2026, the sticking point was not money. The sticking point was the jersey number. That reframes this as a business negotiation LSU chose to resolve against Daniels, not a kid being denied a childhood number. Number 5, Daniels isn't fighting Burrow or Pickett. Tiger Bait reported that Daniels remains close with both and isn't upset with either. Daniels' frustration is directed at LSU's communication with all parties. Pickett, for his part, has been gracious in every availability. Number 6, the cease and desist letter simply asserts that LSU's rights to Daniels' name, image, and likeness expired 180 days after his final college game, and that the school is no longer authorized to use Daniels' name, image, and likeness. Per ESPN's reporting, the jersey number isn't specifically mentioned in the letter, yet the memes and first takes portray the situation differently. My bottom line, the media has portrayed this as a professional athlete bullying a college sophomore over a number. The actual record shows an institution that gave one Heisman quarterback an explicit assurance, gave another one an established consultation precedent at the very least, then reversed course without telling him. Did Daniels make mistakes? Probably. Escalating through an attorney was heavy-handed, complete unforced errors in optics, but this boils down to Kiffin deciding on his own to quietly trade the number as a contract term, vice going back to JD first. Regular season football can't start soon enough. Let's hope that this fuels Daniels even more. Thank you for the email, Elliot. I appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate the research. So what has made Jayden Daniels look bad in this situation with LSU is this insistence that the program retire the number 5 in his honor. That's not a good look. That makes you look egotistical. That makes you look way too concerned about your image. Forget about whether LSU should retire number 5 in Jayden Daniels' honor. That's not for Daniels to dictate. And the statement that the Jayden Daniels spokesperson gave to ESPN for that initial report from Mark Schlabach was just so over the top. Quote, the Daniels family is deeply disappointed and feels profoundly disrespected by LSU's decision to give Jayden's number to another player. Jayden and his family had every reason to believe that his number would remain a meaningful part of his LSU legacy and would be honored and protected in recognition of his extraordinary contributions to the university, and quote. Insisting that a team/program retires your number is so not the way that this is supposed to work. The retiring of the number should come from the team/program, not from you telling the team/program to retire your number. And regarding Joe Burrow, I may be in the minority on this, but the two situations to me are not the same. Yes, he and Daniels each won a Heisman Trophy while serving as LSU's QB1. Burrow in 2019, Daniels in 2023. But Burrow quarterbacked LSU to the College Football Playoff National Championship for the 2019 season. Daniels did not do that for the 2023 season, as good as Daniels' 2023 season was. Burrow for LSU won a national title. Daniels did not. Their situations with LSU are not the same. What I have kept coming back to with this situation are two things. A, Jayden Daniels acting in this manner. That is not the Jayden Daniels who we know. I really wonder if this is a situation in which he has not had much actual involvement and or has gotten some overly aggressive / bad advice. And I hope that he and whoever has given him this advice, if in fact there is such a person / are such people, learn from all of this. And yes, that person or among those people may well be his mom, Regina Jackson, who is his business manager and agent. B, the situation to me has zero impact on how Daniels plays in the 2026 season or on how the Washington Commanders do in the 2026 season. This story is bizarre. This story is annoying. This story is embarrassing for Daniels, given all of the criticism / mocking. But ultimately, this story means nothing for his on-field performance performance, which is what matters most from a Washington Commanders perspective. Hey, if you are a Washington Commanders fan, check out bgobsession.com, an outstanding site for discussion about the team, especially as we are approaching the cut down to 53. BG Obsession, or BGO, has been going strong since 2009. BG Obsession offers great contests, game day chats, and camaraderie. No politics, just football. Both old school and new school fans are welcome. By the way, the 2026 BGO NFL Pick'em contest is here. Details in the Sons of Washington forum on bgobsession.com. Visit and join BGO at bgobsession.com and tell bgobsession.com that Al Galdi sent you. bgobsession.com, home to your burgundy and gold obsession. We had 2026 Washington Commanders training camp on Monday. We're supposed to have just a walkthrough, but the Commanders on Sunday afternoon announced that they on Monday instead would have a full practice beginning at 2:30 p.m. The team on Sunday afternoon also announced that a scheduled day after the game press conference for head coach Dan Quinn for Sunday afternoon at 4:30 had been canceled, and that he instead would do a post-practice press conference on Monday afternoon. He instead did a pre-practice press conference on Monday afternoon. A lot to keep up with regarding Washington's schedule lately. So to be clear, here's what we're looking at in this work week. Washington on Monday held a full practice that began around 2:30. Washington on Tuesday morning at 8:30 has a practice. Washington on Wednesday morning at 10:30 has a joint practice at the Baltimore Ravens. Washington on Friday evening at 6 has a preseason game at Baltimore. And after the work week, we get the cut down to 53, as it is by this Sunday, August 30th at 6 p.m. Eastern, that each NFL team must have its active roster at no more than 53 players. Although it's not like the cuts have to all happen on this Sunday. Like, the cuts could start happening any day now. Some teams already have started cutting players. Washington's training camp and the preseason have gone on, has cut some players. So why did Dan Quinn alter the practice schedule to where the team went from having a walkthrough on Monday to having a full practice on Monday? Was this rooted in displeasure with how Washington did in its 17-13 preseason loss at the Detroit Lions this past Saturday afternoon? This was Quinn during the opening statement of his pre-practice press conference on Monday afternoon, and then you'll hear a back and forth between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Quinn.
We'll go practice, just kind of give you updates with the team. We'll practice today and tomorrow here. Then we'll go at Baltimore Wednesday morning. We're looking forward to working with Jesse and his team. Good program, and we're ready to get rolling with that. On the injury front, it's good to see Tim Settle back today and at Baltimore. He's been out for a minute, and Rashad White, you'll see him back on the field doing some individual sessions today. The rest of the crew who missed the Detroit game will continue with their return to football programs in hopes of getting some of them back for next week's practices. And that's my update. So I'm glad, John, if you want to kick it off.
So you were not scheduled to practice today. What changed? Why did you want to do this?
Yeah, just going through it, we just felt like, man, this was a good chance to throw 3 more days in a row. It'll feature today's group more of the ones as far as the reps go. And I thought it was the right call to make.
Is it related to what you saw or didn't see Saturday?
I didn't love all that I saw from an identity standpoint, but it wasn't like a knee-jerk reaction to that, but just kind of where I want to keep working with the guys, some new people in a couple of locations. So I thought it was important to rep those if we could today, rep it again tomorrow, and then work it into practice Wednesday and into the game. So a little bit of kind of leaning into the week to make sure we can feature some guys into some spots. So I wanted to look at a couple of different locations of some people, and we'll do a little bit of that this week too.
Okay, so Dan Quinn on why he altered the practice schedule to where Washington went from having a walkthrough on Monday to having a full practice on Monday. Downplayed the team's performance in the preseason loss at Detroit as the reason, but Quinn did say, quote, "I didn't love all that I saw from an identity standpoint," end quote. Also, some good injury news from Dan Quinn. Running back Rachaad White, he on Monday afternoon was back practicing. He had been dealing with a hamstring injury that he suffered in Washington's joint practice with the visiting Miami Dolphins on August 12th. And defensive tackle Tim Settle, he on Monday afternoon was back practicing. He had been dealing with a calf strain. As for another running back, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. So the belief was that he got injured during practice this past Thursday morning. Turns out that that belief is correct, although the injury is not believed to be major. We on Monday afternoon had this back and forth between WUSA 9 sports anchor Marshall Kramsky and Dan Quinn.
Hey, Coach. Do you have a status update on Bill Krosky-Merritt?
I do. So Bill's in the same space he was in for this last game, so you'll see him working off to the side with the trainers today and into this week, and he'll be like with a number of crew of guys that we hope to get into practices next week. That'd be like Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah.
Okay, and then another injured Washington player is defensive end Deatrich Wise Jr., who is on the active/physically unable to perform list. This and his recovery from a torn quadriceps that he suffered in Washington's 27-18 loss at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football this past September 11th. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider Tashawn Reed of the Washington Post and Dan Quinn.
Dan, with Deatrich Wise, do you have any expectation for him to be able to come off the PUP list before the season, or do you think he'll stay on there?
I wouldn't say before. That's not where he had a good evaluation recently. He's certainly getting closer, but they haven't given us a time frame to say, hey, next week it's in that space. The next evaluation for him will be next week, and then after that we'll get into where the season goes. He looks good. I'm pleased with the work that he's put in. For him, this has been a long rehab. It's a serious injury, and so to see him on the other side of that, knowing the light at the end of the tunnel is nearby, that's exciting. But I haven't got a time frame that's, hey, by this date, we can go.
All right, so Dan Quinn making it pretty clear that the expectation is that Deatrich Wise Jr. will begin the 2026 regular season on the reserve/physically unable to perform list, as opposed to coming off the active/physically unable to perform list and being on the team's initial 53-man roster for the season. Not shocking, but certainly noteworthy. Now, we earlier heard Dan Quinn say about Washington's performance in the preseason loss at Detroit this past Saturday afternoon, quote, "I didn't love all that we saw from an identity standpoint." End quote. A play that captured that. 3rd and 3 for Detroit at the 50 with 6:47 left in the first quarter. Washington gave up a 50-yard shotgun read option touchdown run by quarterback Joshua Dobbs with 6:38 left in the first quarter. Outside linebacker Joshua Josephs and safety Will Harris on the play got fooled big time. That was not a good look for Josephs. That was not a good look for Harris. We on Monday afternoon had this back and forth between Commanders insider Martenzie Johnson of Notice and Dan Quinn.
Hi, Dan.
Good afternoon.
On the Dobbs, RPO that led to the long touchdown run.
Very long.
What went wrong on that play,
Sure.
and what would you have ideally wanted to see?
Yep. So a good zone read play for him, and he's got that ability to, like Jayden, to hand it off and pull it. So on that particular one, on that option, they read the defensive end. So if the defensive end closes, he pulls it. So on that particular one, we'd love Josh to wait it out. And then we were in man-to-man behind. So once it's handed off and we're out of pass, get off your man and everybody get back to it. So I get it could be a first down, but to have it be a touchdown was certainly disappointing. But it would start with Josh and then just backside pursuit and speed to finish. But I got it. He made a good play too.
And so there was a Josh play with containment. I think I saw 2 other plays where I think the edge person was supposed to have containment and they didn't. They got longer plays off of that.
Yep.
You mentioned the penalties on the returns. I think there were 4 of those. The offensive line, it seems to be some miscommunication there. How do you improve the kind of fundamentals, discipline stuff that you weren't seeing?
What I told the team was, I said, a lot of that, what I saw, that wasn't us, and that bothered me. And so today is our time to get to the truth, why. So I took a long time. I went through a lot of plays, and I didn't feel like we played complementary football. I said that felt in disarray. Just a week ago, I loved how we finished a 2-minute at the end of the half and a 4-minute to finish the game. And in this particular game, we had a chance for a 2-minute at the end of the half, We had a tackle for loss, a completion, and a sack. And then in a 4-minute, we had our chances to stop, and they converted on a 4th down. And so, like, those were the part, like you said, the penalties were on the return game. The field position was tough. So that's where I felt in disarray. I loved how we started with 2 takeaways, and then to not capitalize and get points off the second one, those were the things that I wanted to, like, really highlight into it. So that's, what I want to get cleaned up.
So some more from Dan Quinn right there on him not being pleased with Washington's performance in the preseason loss at Detroit this past Saturday afternoon. He actually used the word, quote, disarray, end quote, in describing his team at times in the game. Did you catch that? Dan Quinn literally used the word disarray. Here you go.
So that's where I felt in disarray. I love.
Yeah, Dan Quinn using the word, quote, disarray, end quote, in describing his team at times in the preseason loss at Detroit this past Saturday afternoon. Look, Washington in the game had what I would call a mixed performance. The passing offense was good, but the rushing offense was bad. The defense held Detroit to just 17 points, just 279 total net yards of offense, and a yards per play of just 4.29, and totaled 5 sacks and 2 takeaways, including a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Heck, the 2 takeaways happened over the first 2 drives of the game. All of that you like, but the defense also allowed Detroit to go 9 for 17 on 3rd downs and 2 for 2 on 4th downs, and did give up that 50-yard touchdown run. Also, Washington had 11 accepted penalties for 84 yards. Here's my take. Dan Quinn, in altering the practice schedule to where the team went from having a walkthrough on Monday to having a full practice on Monday, and saying some of what he said during this pre-practice press conference on Monday afternoon, including that the team in the preseason loss at Detroit this past Saturday afternoon at times was in, quote, disarray, end quote. All of this is Quinn recognizing the urgency of the upcoming regular season. If the team does not have a good 2026 season, then it may well be his last season as the team's head coach. And the team's 2026 regular season schedule on paper is very difficult. Washington, per Warren Sharp of Sharp Football Analysis, as of August 23rd, had the 4th hardest schedule in the NFL for the 2026 regular season. Let me repeat that. Washington, per Warren Sharp of Sharp Football Analysis, as of August 23rd, had the 4th hardest schedule in the NFL for the 2026 regular season. Warren does his strength of schedule rankings for upcoming regular seasons based on projected win totals from Las Vegas odds makers. Now, we all understand that playing the schedule game in the NFL is a very dangerous game to play because the NFL is so week to week, you just never know. Things can change on a dime. So much of how difficult an opponent is predicated on injury. Injury so often is something that you cannot predict. So yeah, like the fact that Washington, per Warren Sharp of Sharp Football Analysis, as of August 23rd, had the 4th hardest schedule in the NFL for the 2026 regular season. We should only put so much stock into that. But, I don't think we should just ignore that, man. Okay, like on paper, this appears to be a difficult schedule. And so you take a step back. Washington is coming off a 2025 regular season in which the team went 5-12 with a point differential of -95. Washington, in its 2026 training camp and 2026 preseason, has dealt with a concerning amount of injury, way too reminiscent of the team getting hammered by injury last regular season. Now Washington has had this so-so performance in the preseason loss at Detroit this past Saturday afternoon in the supposed dress rehearsal game for the regular season, a regular season that includes Washington on paper having a very difficult schedule. Dan Quinn is feeling the urgency, and good for him. He should be feeling the urgency. Washington cannot afford a bad start to the upcoming regular season. The first 10 games especially look rough, including the first 3 games at the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday afternoon, September 13th at 4:25, at the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday afternoon, September 20th at 4:25, and home to the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday afternoon, September 27th at 1. 0-3 is not far-fetched, although 1-2 or even 2-1 is entirely possible. This is the NFL, the ultimate week-to-week league. But yeah, Washington on paper, very difficult 2026 regular season schedule. All right, well, we are in football season. As you likely know, we are in back-to-school season. My kids are starting their school years this week. Heck, we're now less than a month away from the start of fall. Get your wardrobe ready for fall with great clothes from Quince. Go to quince.com/Galdi. Quince is all about fewer, better pieces. Quince's clothes are made with premium materials built to last and designed to become the ones that you reach for day after day. I've been telling you about my sand dune colored cotton chino drawstring shorts from Quince, but I'm also looking forward to busting out my Quince blue wool pullover. It's not yet time for the pullover, but the pullover is ready to go, unlike Washington's offensive line. But clothes from Quince become your go-to items. Quince specializes in everyday staples that work harder, like Quince's ultra-soft organic cotton tees and premium Mongolian cashmere sweaters. They're versatile, timeless, and transition seamlessly from a casual workday to dinner out. If you're still hanging on to the same worn-out basics, Quince makes it easy to upgrade. Quince has premium denim and tailored chinos from just $60 with the kind of perfect fit, structure, and high-quality fabrics you'd expect from a luxury designer brand. Upgrade your everyday. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers or go to quince.com/Galdi. Get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/Galdi. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Galdi. Taking care of the people you love, nothing matters more. Get peace of mind with life insurance through Ethos. Ethos helps to provide financial security for your family. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.9 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 5,500 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/AlGaldi. That's ethos.com/AlGaldi. Ethos.com/AlGaldi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Trustpilot rating as of August 1st, 2026.
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Driving high will get you a DUI. And if you're wondering if law enforcement can tell you're driving high, well, everyone else can. Friends?
I can tell you drove high.
Parents?
I can tell when you drive high.
Relatives?
I can tell. You drove here high, didn't you?
So what makes you think law enforcement can't?
I can tell.
If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
More now on the Washington Commanders, off them practicing on Monday afternoon. Have we seen the last of our team's QB1, Jayden Daniels, in the NFL's 2026 preseason? Probably, yes. Daniels did not play in Washington's preseason opening 27 win over the Miami Dolphins at Northwest Stadium on August 14th. And that game, remember, happened 2 days after Daniels put on a show in Washington's joint practice with visiting Miami on August 12th. Daniels started but played on just 3 snaps in Washington's 17-13 loss at the Detroit Lions this past Saturday afternoon. One more game for Washington in its 3-game 2026 preseason at the Baltimore Ravens this Friday evening at 6, but that game will happen 2 days after a joint practice for Washington at Baltimore this Wednesday morning at 10:30. And as we know, plenty of NFL teams these days are using joint practices for substantial work for starters/key players as opposed to using preseason games for substantial work for starters/key players. So during head coach Dan Quinn's pre-practice press conference on Monday afternoon, had this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Quinn.
It's a two-parter, mainly so I can squeeze in another question. But
crafty veteran.
Yeah. With this sort of being like the taper period toward the season, do you expect the joint practice to be as intense as maybe as it was against Miami? And then how does that affect Jayden? Is there a chance he would ever play in the third preseason game?
I'll go back to the first one. I see next week as the tapering. And so this week, still at a really heightened space for us. And the purpose being is we're trying everything we can to help us prepare some of the longer drives, the longer spaces in preparation for the season. And so you probably saw some of that in camp. It went from 6-play drives to 8 plays to 10 to 12. And so last week and this week is really kind of the crescendo of that. And then we'll begin tapering, have some practices next week, and then they have a block off. And so I still feel like we're up in the higher zone today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and then into the game. And then we'll do some practices next week, and that's the spot that will begin, but not yet. As far as Jayden goes, we haven't gone there with the game, but having the joint's a big deal for us. And so that's where we want to get a lot of reps for him and for many others. So it won't be all balanced in terms of, in Miami, it was a little more balanced, quite about 50-50 in terms of plays. This one will be a little more shifted towards Jayden and some of the group with him.
And that, to me, sure sounded like Dan Quinn is planning on getting Jayden Daniels a lot of work in the joint practice at Baltimore this Wednesday morning, and then not playing him in the preseason game at Baltimore this Friday evening. And so it may well be that Jayden Daniels' lone work in this preseason ends up being the 3-and-out from this past Saturday afternoon. Snap number 1, 1st and 10 for Washington at the 50 with 11:31 left in the first quarter. Daniels had a shotgun incompletion on a throwaway on a play on which there was immediate pressure from inside linebacker Devin White, who blew by center Julian Good-Jones on a stunt that began with Good-Jones and left guard Chris Paul both blocking interior defensive lineman Tyleek Williams. Snap number 2, 2nd and 10 for Washington at the 50 with 11:26 left in the first quarter. Daniels was sacked by edge defender DJ Wonnum for a 10-yard loss. So although the play was blown dead before Daniels was taken to the ground, but Daniels on an under-center play-action drop-back faced immediate pressure thanks to Wonnum blowing right through tight end John Bates, who, of course, is known for his blocking, but his blocking on this play, not good. And also struggling in blocking on the play was tight end Chikakonkwo, who is not known for his blocking. He on the play was blocking defensive back Avonte Maddox. And wide open downfield on the play was receiver Traylon Burks. And snap number 3, 3rd and 20 for Washington at its 40 with 10:40 left in the first quarter. Running back Katron Allen had an 11-yard shotgun delayed handoff run. So Jayden Daniels over his 3 snaps in this game, a throwaway, a sack, and a handoff. Does the lack of work for Jayden Daniels in the preseason matter for whether Daniels is good to go for Washington's 2026 regular season opener, which is at the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday afternoon, September 13th at 4:25? I tend to think not, considering that he has had a very good training camp, but who knows? I mean, there just isn't significant research or data on how much preseason work matters for regular season performance, and I don't know that we ever will have significant research or data on how much preseason work matters for regular season performance. Every player is different, every team is different, every preseason is different. Now, a major theme emerging from what happened with Jayden Daniels in the preseason loss at Detroit this past Saturday afternoon was the situation at center. The favorite to be the starting center remains Nick Allegretti, but he suffered a calf strain during training camp practice on July 29th. It was the team's first practice at 2026 training camp. He returned to practicing last Tuesday morning, August 18th, but he then aggravated the calf during practice on Wednesday morning, August 19th. The team's backup center to Allegretti in training camp and the preseason has been Julian Good-Jones, but he has really struggled, including in the preseason loss at Detroit this past Saturday afternoon. This past Saturday afternoon felt like a breaking point for Julian Good-Jones as Washington's number 2 center, especially with Dan Quinn during his postgame press conference on Saturday afternoon saying, quote, "We got work to do to figure out, where we want to get to at center," end quote. That did not sound good for Julian Good-Jones. Maybe also didn't sound good for Nick Allegretti, although I do think that the team still has belief in Allegretti. He just needs to get and stay healthy. We on Monday afternoon had this back and forth between Nicky Jhabvala and Dan Quinn.
You said after the game you felt like you had some work to do to kind of figure out what you guys want to be at center. Do you feel like you have the talent you need there on the roster currently?
We do, and but we still have work to do there, Nicky, honestly. And so I want to see where Matt is, get him some more snaps. He played a little bit of guard this week, and we worked him some there in the game. I'm sure you saw that. And we'll work him back to exclusively, at center into this game, in this practice this week. We're still working with Nick. He's not there yet, coming back from his injury. But between the three of them, we're still in the process of evaluating, what's the best way for us to go. So that'd be one of the spots that I'm still digging in on and still looking.
All right, so Dan Quinn announcing that Washington, at least for this week, is having Matt Gulbin work exclusively at center. That seems to be a sign that the team is moving away from, or is at least down on, Julian Good-Jones as the number 2 center. Julian Good-Jones, he was acquired by Washington via it signing him off the Philadelphia Eagles practice squad in November 2023. He has been cut by Washington multiple times, has stuck around, but he in his NFL career has played in just one regular season game, which was Washington's 2023 regular season finale, a 38-10 loss to the Dallas Cowboys at FedEx Field on January 7th, 2024. Matt Gulbin, Washington took him in the 6th round of the 2026 NFL Draft out of Michigan State. Gulbin played college football for 5 seasons, played for Wake Forest for the 2021 through 2024 seasons, played for Michigan State for the 2025 season. Gulbin in his collegiate career made a combined 34 regular season and postseason starts. He for Wake Forest started 11 games at left guard, 11 games at right guard, and 1 game at center. He for Michigan State started 11 games at center. So extensive experience at both center and guard. But center is the need for our football team right now. Certainly if Nick Allegretti can't get and stay healthy. Remember, a guy who was a good center for Washington for years, Chase Roulier, he was taken by the team in the 6th round of an NFL draft. The Redskins took Chase Roulier in the 6th round of the 2017 NFL Draft out of the University of Wyoming, and Washington took Matt Gulbin in the 6th round of the 2026 NFL Draft out of Michigan State. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between columnist David Aldridge of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
What do you need to see from both Julian and from Matt going forward to make you feel comfortable there?
Yeah. Good news, I feel comfortable system-wise. And you know how important it is to direct everything up front. This is the call. This is where we're going. So with both of them, I feel good knowledge of the system, of where they're at. Julian's somebody that's been here to work and put in, so I felt his strength there. I want to see really good protection in the middle of the line, especially blitzes, stunts, and we'll get a good look at that. Our defense does it. Baltimore does it. So between Wednesday and Friday, those are 2 more nice chances, DA, to get some good looks. Good news for us, both of them are, heady, smart players, what to go, where to look for. And so now let's battle it out some more. With Nick being not set back, but injured, we'll work him back in when we can. But this week will be, kind of devoted to Matt and to Julian as we're working through those 2 spots.
And what remains a distinct possibility, I'm certainly thinking that this is going to happen, is Washington acquiring a center who is cut in the coming days, as it is by this Sunday, August 30th at 6 p.m. Eastern, that each NFL team must have its active roster at no more than 53 players. While we're talking about Washington's situation at center, how about what has happened with the team's number 1 center for the previous 2 seasons, Tyler Biadasz? Washington on March 15th, 2024, announced the signing of Biadasz as an unrestricted free agent. He spent 2 seasons as the team's number 1 center. Washington this past March 3rd announced having released Biadasz. What has become clear is that the team was displeased with him in terms of protection calls / communication. But the Los Angeles Chargers just 3 days later, March 6th, announced having signed Biadasz as an unrestricted free agent. And he got a nice contract. The Chargers, per overthecap.com and Spottrack.com, signed Biadasz to a 3-year, $30 million contract with $15 million fully guaranteed at signing. But now Biadasz is done for the season. The Chargers on Sunday afternoon announced having placed Biadasz on the reserve / injured list. This due to an injured left knee. He hurt the knee during a joint practice with the visiting San Francisco 49ers last Tuesday, August 18th. A few other notes on Washington. So, as we discussed on Monday's show, episode 1394, Washington's QB3 competition should be over, as Ethan Kaliak-Manis has outperformed Sam Hartman. But something that was interesting in the preseason loss at Detroit this past Saturday afternoon was that Washington alternated playing Hartman and Kaliak-Manis. So one guy would get one drive, the other guy would get the next drive, etc. That was not how playing time for those guys was done in the preseason opening win over Miami. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between WUSA 9 sports anchor Marshall Kramsky and Dan Quinn.
What was the thought process behind flip-flopping Sam and Ethan rather than giving one a half, the other half, or something like that?
Yeah, and we did that in the first game, and here was the thought behind it. And we had a lot of discussions about it because I'd asked both Blau and Danny Etling. They've got a lot of experience in that space, as both of them were, backup quarterbacks and successful at it. And we came to the conclusion that oftentimes that's how the backup quarterback comes into a game, into a series. And so we thought, let's go with that assumption that going into the game as the backup, you didn't have setup time and different looks, and we wanted the same evaluation with the same receivers against the same defense as often as we could. So that was our rationale behind it, and we haven't gone all the way into the game. We're kind of like locked in on today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, but I thought it's not as easy for them, but quite honestly, we're not trying to make it easy. Like how can it be stressful, and like that's part of their role. Can they adapt and come in and work with new people in different spaces? And so that was the rationale behind it.
All right. Interesting approach to playing Sam Hartman and Ethan Kaliakmanis, but makes sense. And look, bottom line, whatever approach Washington has taken to playing Hartman and Kaliakmanis in this preseason, Kaliakmanis has outplayed Hartman in each of the team's 2 preseason games. Very disappointing rushing offense for Washington in the preseason loss at Detroit this past Saturday afternoon. The 3 Washington running backs who played in this game, Katron Allen, Robert Henry Jr., and Craig Reynolds, combined for 16 carries for just 29 yards. And Washington's first rushing attempt of the game was that 11-yard shotgun delayed handoff run by Allen on a 3rd and 20 for Washington at its 40 with 10:40 left in the first quarter. So Washington running backs over their other 15 carries combined for just 18 yards. Now, we make clear that the struggles of the rushing offense, so we're not just on the running back, so the struggles also were on the offensive line. But bottom line, the rushing offense was really bad. Big difference from what we saw in the preseason opening win over Miami. 2 rookie Washington running backs in that game, Katron Allen and Robert Henry Jr., combined for 35 carries for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider Donna Hopkins of Pro Football Plus and Dan Quinn.
In the running game with some of the younger guys, the week before they get 160-yard Henry and Allen, not so much this week.
Yes.
What did you see with the difference of the 2 weeks?
Yeah, and I really was hoping to lean into that, to see that. And so I didn't see us just quite on time. There was times you see, one time in this part of the line getting off the ball, the tight ends were late. Not, downfield finishing and all the spaces. So it wasn't just a running back or one person here. There was plenty of times I thought, all right, 9 are right. These 2 are wrong. 10 are right. This one's wrong. And so it just didn't feel as connected, Donna, that I hoped I'd see in the run game. Had one that was an outside toss play early in the, a 2 minute at the end of the half, a tackle for a loss. Those were things that we know we can get, Robert or a player out on the edge. And so to have that happen, that was disappointing.
Yes, it was. We have an update on who will be Washington's primary green dot guy on defense. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider Tashawn Reed of the Washington Post and Dan Quinn.
And when it comes to where's the green dot on defense, is that something that you've decided at this point, or is that still ongoing in evaluation?
It's still ongoing. Frankie and Sonny are the ones that will decide in between. We'll also rotate a few guys, in and out. So both of them at some point will have it if one comes out and Leo comes in. So there'll be some of that to go for sure. So they would be the 2 main that will, lean in on the game.
Okay, so Dan Quinn saying that who will be Washington's primary green dot guy on defense is down to 2 inside linebackers in Frankie Louvu and Sonny Styles. No surprise. And no, it is not that big of a deal if Styles isn't the green dot guy from the get-go. Yes, Washington took him with the number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft out of Ohio State. But also, yes, Styles is a converted safety. The 2026 season will be just his 3rd season as an inside linebacker. And also, yes, press, Frankie Louvu is just 2 seasons removed from a great season. He, for the 2024 regular season, made the Associated Press's All-Pro second team. Did have a down 2025 season, but a good bit of that, maybe even the majority of that, had to do with Louvu being played out of position. He played a lot of edge defender last regular season, and the results were not good. Washington's coaching staff does really like Frankie Louvu. Dan Quinn on Monday afternoon referenced Louvu as someone who has epitomized the increased competitiveness of this Washington training camp. We on Monday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack and Quinn.
Obviously, a competitive camp is something you've talked about from the beginning. Obviously, we know some of the guys like Jayden and others who are competitive. Who are some other guys that you feel have like sort of exemplified that type of approach throughout?
Yeah, that's a good question, Ben. There's been quite a few. I'll start maybe on the offensive side, if that's good. On the offensive line, I really felt Sam Cosmi has really had himself quite a camp. He and Connerly, I know Josh worked hard to get bigger and stronger, and so that came from the offseason, but you still had to put all the work in that space. Chris Paul and Brandon Coleman, both of them have taken a lot of reps, albeit at guard early on before LT, suffered his injury. But those 4 at the line, Ben, I thought have really exemplified that. Chig's taken a lot of reps at tight end. I feel like he's comfortable with the group into that space. The receivers, I could list a number of them. Jalen Lane's probably one that comes to mind because it could also be, Ben, I see the jump that's taken place with him. He's a better route runner. He's in crazy shape. He's making more plays maybe than he would have last year at the slot where we said, okay, let's start him at returner and see where it can end up. Now a threat on both sides. On the defensive side, I feel like Louvu's one that's been active, Ben, in that spot. And then I love that work that both corners have put in, Amik and Mike Sainristil. I felt like they're just down for the battle. They're ready for it every day. They love to compete. So those are a few that popped into mind.
Well, interesting to hear Dan Quinn reference a jump being made by receiver Jalen Lane, something to keep in mind when we think about who will be the receivers who make Washington's initial 53-man roster for the 2026 season. But Quinn also brought up Frankie Louvu. In fact, brought him up as the first defensive player in terms of those players who have epitomized the increased competitiveness of this Washington training camp. Hey, please consider subscribing to the podcast. If you're not already doing that, subscribing to the podcast costs nothing. Make sure that you never miss an episode and helps out the podcast a lot. And if you're already subscribing, thank you. Taking care of the people you love, nothing matters more. Get peace of mind with life insurance through Ethos. Ethos helps to provide financial security for your family. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.9 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 5,500 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Trustpilot rating as of August 1st, 2026.
If you're like me, you're the kid who savored every last drop of sugary milk at the bottom of your cereal bowl while watching Saturday morning cartoons. Kachava's new flavor, Cinnamon French Toast, gives you a bit of that classic nostalgia. And I love that it's made with real cinnamon bark. It's a comfort flavor, but with benefits and without the sugary drawbacks. There's no artificial colors, flavors, or sweeteners. It's non-GMO, there's no soy, there's no animal products, no gluten, and no preservatives. But Kachava does provide all the nutrition your body craves in one deliciously simple shake with just 2 scoops. So treat yourself to a childhood favorite. Go to Kachava.com and use code SPORTS for 15% off your first order. That's Kachava, Kachava.com with code SPORTS.
Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Driving high will get you a DUI. And if you're wondering if law enforcement can tell you're driving high, well, everyone else can. Friends,
I can tell you drove high.
parents,
I can tell when you drive high.
relatives.
I can tell. You drove here high, didn't you?
So what makes you think law enforcement can't?
I can tell.
If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA.
Well, as poorly as things have gone for the Washington Nationals lately, they are not the Colorado Rockies. And so the Nats on Monday evening got a blowout win, a 13-3 win over the Rockies at Nationals Park on Monday evening in Game 1 of a 4-game series. The Nats snapped a 4-game losing streak, one for just the 7th time in 25 games. The Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 62-71 with a run differential of plus 20. The Rockies now have lost 7 consecutive games, and in this regular season now are an MLB worst 50-81 with a National League worst run differential of minus 146. The Rockies are horrible. The Rockies for this regular season have the worst team ERA in MLB, 5.59. The Nats came into this game with their offense reeling. We on the podcast had been talking about the Nats' plummeting offense. So the Nats came into this game having just had a 1-8 road trip on which they totaled just 20 runs, including just 14 runs over the 8 losses. But the Nats on Monday evening against the woeful Rockies, 13 runs, 13 hits, which were a home run, 4 doubles, and 8 singles, 8 walks, 4 for 13 with runners in scoring position. And what's amazing is that the Nats got no hit for 4 innings. But the Nats in the bottom of the 5th scored 5 runs, thanks in large part to 2 throwing errors by the Rockies. But the Nats in the inning had 3 doubles and 2 singles. And the Nats in the bottom of the 6th scored 3 runs. And the Nats in the bottom of the 7th scored 2 runs. And the Nats in the bottom of the 8th scored 3 runs. All 13 of the Nats' runs and all 13 of the Nats' hits came over the 5th through 8th innings. Nice to have C.J. Abrams back. He returned from a 4-game absence caused by a sprained left ankle. He is the Nats starting DH, and number 1 batter went 1 for 4 with an RBI double and a walk, and he went 2 for 2 on stolen bases. Abrams in the bottom of the 1st drew a leadoff walk and had to steal a second base. Abrams in the Nats' 5-run 5th had an RBI double down the right field line on an 0-2 pitch for a 3-2 Nats lead, and he had a steal of third base. Now, we still have not seen Abrams play second base since manager Blake Butera, during his pregame session with reporters on August 14th, announced that the team is moving Abrams from being primarily a shortstop to being primarily a second baseman. But he is coming off a sprained left ankle, so the expectation wasn't necessarily that he would play second base upon his return from the sprained left ankle. But certainly in the coming days, we should see Abrams at second base. If we don't, there's a problem. But how about what Abrams now has done? So C.J. Abrams for this regular season has an OPS of 884, 29 home runs, and 26 stolen bases. He has become just the second player for the Nats to have at least 25 home runs and at least 25 stolen bases in a regular season since the franchise moved to Washington, D.C. in the 2004-2005 offseason. Outfielder Alfonso Soriano in the 2006 regular season had 46 home runs and 41 stolen bases, one of the most famous seasons by a Nats player. Not since 2006, Alfonso Soriano, have we had a 25-25 season until now. 20 years after Soriano in 06, C.J. Abrams has joined Soriano in the 25-25 club. A big game for Dalen Lyle. He is the Nats starting left fielder and number 4 batter, 3 for 5 with a 3-run homer, a double, and a 2-run single, and he had a stolen base, but he finished with 5 RBI. Lyle in the Nats 3-run 8th, a 3-run homer to right field on a 1-2 pitch for a 13-3 Nats lead. The homer went a projected 420 feet per Statcast. Dalen Lyle for this regular season now has an OPS of 705. Good game for Jorbeat Bibas. He is the Nats starting second baseman and number 8 batter, went 3 for 5 with a 2-run single and 2 other singles. You know, Jorbeat Bibas takes a lot of grief from Nats fans, and I get it. He's not some long-term piece, and his offensive stats overall are underwhelming, but Jorbit Bibas for this regular season has an on-base percentage of .324. That's better than a number of the on-base percentages for notable Nats players in this regular season. I mean, I just mentioned Dalen Lyle, his on-base percentage, .294. Bibas again at .324. Luis Garcia Jr., as well as he did for the Nats before the team traded him, on-base percentage of .313. Again, Jorbit Bibas, .324. Keibert Ruiz, we've talked about the step forward that he's taken this season. On-base percentage, .323. Jorbit Bibas, again, .324. Not bad. Our guy Bibas is getting on base at least a decent clip. If not for the Nats offense being so good, the headline item from the Nats 13-3 win over the Rockies at Nationals Park on Monday evening would be starting pitcher Cade Cavalli being great again. The surge of Cade Cavalli continues. He allowed 2 runs in 6 innings with 7 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He gave up 5 hits, which were 2 home runs, a double, and 2 singles. He threw a lot of strikes, 93 pitches, 64 strikes, just 29 balls. So Cavalli in the top of the 4th allowed a run as he gave up a leadoff first pitch homer by Willie Castro to right field for a 1-0 Rockies lead. Cavalli in the top of the 5th allowed a run as he gave up a leadoff homer by Ezekiel Tovar to center field for a 2-0 Rockies lead. The homer went a projected 416 feet per Statcast, although center fielder Jacob Young made quite the effort in trying to make a home run robbing catch, climbed the wall, but was unable to make the catch. But bottom line, Cade Cavalli, again, so good. Cavalli now in this regular season, 28 games, all starts. ERA of 3.21, whip of 1.21, strikeouts per 9 innings of 10.23, 169 strikeouts, so very much in striking distance of a 200 strikeout regular season. He now has allowed 3 earned runs or less in 26 of the 28 starts. Those 26 starts, the most such starts for a pitcher in this regular season. What a job by Cade Cavalli. What a season he's having. Such a bright spot for the Nats. And the Nats relief pitching in this 13-3 win over the Rockies at Nationals Park on Monday evening was good. 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 3 innings. Eric Tolman tossed a scoreless and hitless top of the 7th. Clayton Beeter did struggle. He allowed 1 run in 1 inning. He in the top of the 8th allowed a run on 2 singles, a walk, a hit by pitch, and a wild pitch. But Jake Bird tossed a perfect top of the 9th. Game 2 for the Nats against the Rockies at Nationals Park. Tuesday evening at 6:45, the Nats have listed Andrew Alvarez as their probable starting pitcher for the game. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Wednesday's show, episode 1396, will include a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Wednesday's show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats are home to the Colorado Rockies Tuesday evening at 6:45 for Game 2 of a 4-game series. The O's are at the St. Louis Cardinals Tuesday night at 7:45 for Game 1 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll talk to you on Wednesday.
So that's where I felt in disarray. I love